What's up, guys? Max here, back with a brand new episode of the Scuttlebutt Show. How's everybody doing out there? I hope you're doing fantastically. What's up, Larry, Buford, Eviana? Let's see, almost shouted out a bot in there. Yeet, Harry Lime Pie, Rob Sweetman, Nuggets, Jaden, what's up? How are you? Rob in the chats drops, signed up to do hostage rescue in Ukraine. Let's see if they pick me. Was not expecting that. I'd love to hear more about that, how you signed up. Where did you sign up at? Who's that through? I have so many questions. Maybe hit me up in the chat here or offline. I'm so curious. But there's, regarding Ukraine, we're going to talk about Sean Penn here in a minute. But there's so much bad stuff out there. There's so much bad information and gouge going around. Last night, scrolling through TikTok, and I come across a video of, it says it is Ukrainian soldiers grabbing a civilian family out of a vehicle and then arresting them. And I'm like, okay, let me check the comments here because that's always a good place to start. Somebody else says that is it's because Ukraine is under a curfew, and if you're out after curfew, it's presumed that you're a Russian operative. Somebody else said that it's footage from the 2014 conflict. Somebody else said it's actually they were actually Russian saboteurs. Somebody else said it's actually Russia, not Ukraine. You just literally nothing you see on the internet right now on social media can be believed to be exactly what it is without some hesitation, without some fact checking or questioning. Please at least question everything you see. It's a very confusing time to be online, to be getting information for sure. You don't want to be falling victim to misinformation. You see it, then you share it, and then somebody else shares it, and before you know it, it's gone totally out of hand, and then you discover that in fact it was never what you thought it was in the first place, and you can never rewind. You can never rewind back to unshare it. It's out in the world now. What's up, Poe? What's up, everybody in the chat? If I missed anybody, you checked in. Right when the show was starting, somebody said, do not look at the Russian YouTube channel, to which I said, I'm going to make that the very first thing that I do, because it's like if somebody gives you something bad to smell, you're like, how bad of a smell is it? I'd love to know. MC says, I had to search the Scuttlebutt Show to even get this live. It wouldn't come up on home or subscriptions, but I'm still subscribed. Very odd. MC, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. That's always frightening when that happens. So let's check this out. Let's see what this is. I clicked on one video from the RT. So this is the RT YouTube channel. I'm just pursuing a better understanding of what is being put out to people. So the claim is that the RT YouTube channel is ran by the state of Russia, and it says here, even from Wikipedia on YouTube, so YouTube's even put an alert out here that says RT is funded in whole or in part by the Russian government. So this is kind of like, we get mad, of course, when we see COVID warnings or fact checkers on Facebook posts and YouTube videos and all that stuff. I mean, I'm guilty of, feeling misrepresented when I get those tags sometimes. But here in this case, it seems, of course, helpful. RT is funded whole or in part by the Russian government. So this video that we're watching is in whole or in part funded by the Russian government. And it says, missile hits Kiev residential building, expert opinion. And it says in the description, the reason for the incident is a failure of the Ukrainian missile guidance system, says military expert Alexander Stepanov, highlighting the fact that Ukrainian media will surely present the case as a Russian attack. So I'm gonna watch this because I just want to see what it is. It's got 47,000 views, and I just want to see. This is Russia refuting that a missile that hit a Ukrainian residential building was Russian. This is their refute. I'm not going to believe what I see here. I understand that this is sponsored by the Russian government, but out of curiosity for what is being put out as far as misinformation goes, I just want to watch this and see what it says.
Military action in Ukraine is now on its third day. That's as condemnation from most Western states has hit fever pitch and comes, of course, as more explosions are reported in Ukraine's capital, Kiev. These images show what appears to be a missile strike on a residential tower block That came on the outskirts of Kiev. Now, several floors have been damaged. It's unclear if there are any casualties. Russian Defense Ministry sources say it was caused by a missile guidance failure in Ukraine's air defense system. That's according to the Russian side. Kiev says the opposite, that this was a Russian missile strike. Now, a Russian military expert gave us his views on the tactics the Ukrainian armed forces are using in defense of the capital.
First of all, the reason is a failure of missile guidance system of Ukrainian anti-missile complex Buk M1. Surely Ukrainian media will represent this case as a Russian attack, but it's a fake. According to the contrail, the track path, and the nature of the damage, we can surely identify it as an anti-missile weapon. It is very difficult to establish serial number, but definitely possible to identify it. The main reason is that the Ukrainian forces are deploying armaments in urban conditions, directly threatening civilians. This is the main problem.
Anybody getting like North Korea vibes out there? Anybody getting like, proof of life? Dude's holding up a newspaper with like a date on it. Like if he doesn't recite that perfectly, he'll never be heard from again. So if you're in Russia right now, you're getting that. You're getting that video. You're getting that information. Wow, that's something to really think about. That's what state-sponsored media looks like. Something that outrageous. At least, is how it certainly sounds. If you guys have any information you want to share like that, please let me know in the comments. And that is insanely cruel to say that, knowing that that's untrue. I really doubt that Ukraine launched a missile into its own building because of a failure of its missile defense systems. I actually haven't even heard much about Ukrainian anti-missile defense systems being used. Has Ukraine even shot down any missiles or used any like CWIS type technology to prevent any, or CRAM technology to prevent any attacks? I don't even know anything about that. So it's wow, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy indeed. What's up, MC with a $1.99 super chat? Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Cold Comfort, what's up? Yeah, Rob, I'm going to have to hit you up. It says it's been 24 hours and nobody has contacted me, so either it was a scam or I'm too old. I saw another video of the father whose apartment got hit in this video. Poe says, I saw a video of what was reported to be a 6-year-old girl who was killed in a Russian, I think it was artillery strike on a city. And they were trying to rescue her. That was from OAF Nation's Instagram, where I've been seeing a lot of on-the-ground footage being shared. But, of course, as all that comes out, you have to remember that could be a photo of anything. Apparently, the photos of the Ukrainian Miss Ukraine in her uniform with a gun, that's like an old photo of her playing airsoft and not an actual. She is really enlisting in the military, but that's an old photo of her playing airsoft. So there's, if you guys have seen it online, you can't be certain that it's true. You can't be sure. The word on the street is that those people, the soldiers from Snake Island, are alive. The Navy's reported. The Ukrainian Navy's reported. So I guess we will keep following this stuff and see what changes every day. But as far as today goes and stories that I have for you guys, one that I did want to share that I've been hearing a lot about is from somebody you might have heard of. It's this one right here. Sean Penn filming documentary on the ground in Ukraine. Sean Penn, one of the first Americans boots on ground in Ukraine. How about that? Apparently he's a big activist for human rights, and he's going to be sharing the story of what he calls a brutal attack in Ukraine. So we've seen the violence online. We've seen the videos and heard the reports. But now Oscar-winning actor and director Sean Penn is in Ukraine filming a documentary about the ongoing Russian attack that began Wednesday. I can't wait to see what he's making. The office of the Ukrainian president wrote in a Facebook post Thursday that Penn attended press briefings, met with Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk. If I'm not saying that right, I apologize. and spoke to journalists and military personnel about the Russian invasion. Sean Penn demonstrates the courage that many others, especially Western politicians, lack, the president's office wrote on Facebook, which is, bold statement. The director especially came to Kiev to record all the events that are currently happening in Ukraine and to tell the world the truth about Russia's invasion of our country. The documentary was meant to be top secret, according to Vladislav Davidson, a columnist with the Atlantic Council. He said in a briefing that Penn was on his way to visit with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. I always have a hard time with his first name, Volodymyr. We spent the night with Sean Penn last night. He shook my hand as he was leaving, Davidson says. He was on the way to see Zelensky. They were extremely nervous, I'm told, but they didn't know that this was going to happen. They, of course, are putting themselves right in harm's way if Russian troops are firing artillery, mortars, missiles, rockets, airstrikes. That does not discriminate. Sean Penn is brave for going over there. The film crew that he's with is brave for going over there, or stupid. I'm not sure which it is, or some kind of combination of the two. But it's good. I'm proud that somebody is doing that to go document what's happening over there. Wow. I mean, shout out to him. Bravo Zulu. Penn has been active with numerous humanitarian and anti-war organizations and also founded a nonprofit after the 2010 earthquake hit Haiti. So, that's wild. I mean, now I've seen social media is going to start exploding with this kind of stuff. But speaking of, Rob signing up for hostage rescue, which is crazy. That's a very kinetic operation, hostage rescue, and wild. That I've seen other people on TikTok specifically, because I do, as you guys know, sit on TikTok at night before going to sleep. Last night, I think I saw 3 separate accounts of people saying that they were Army veterans who were on their way to Ukraine. They had applied for a special emergency passport. They had applied to go through one of those programs to join Ukraine, like we talked about, the 6 steps to join Ukraine, and that they were on their way and they're documenting their journey. One was even already in a hotel waiting for his flight with an itinerary, a flight itinerary. Should you be putting that in your plan in your con op, basically, on how to get there on TikTok? Probably not. Probably not. If it was me, I would, and I was going to post something on social media to inspire other people to maybe join. If that's what his intent is, I would wait until I was actually boots on ground. Because if you're just like, I got my plane ticket, I got my passport, you haven't really done anything yet. Anything could happen. You could get shut down at any point in time, especially advertising it. It's almost like saying, please stop me. Here I am. Please stop me. I don't really want to go, but I want to seem like I went. So I'm posting everything on social media so that way the State Department prevents me from going. But at least I can say I tried. That's almost the vibe that I get. So if you're thinking about going, or if you're planning on going, I would not be posting about it online until after you're safely made it on the ground there. My opinion, my 2 cents on it. Otherwise, this isn't some clout chasing nonsense that we're talking about. It's real danger. It's real war. It's real people's lives. So it's something to think about, I guess. All right. So we've talked about Ukraine a little bit already today. We'll keep doing that. So as it continues to develop every day, I'll bring you guys whatever information I think is relevant and helpful. Killer Cobra, what's up? Kherson is currently under siege by Russian military. Mayor just said they are coming from north, south, east. Only way out is west. Mayor said he will try to hold out till sunrise. Yeah, it's definitely a scary time over there. Rob says Sean Penn is legit. He visited with El Chapo back in 2016. That's crazy. Nugget says, would you go to Ukraine, Max? If there was a straightforward path of people that I trust going to do a very deliberate purpose over there, I would, and I had an opportunity to go. Maybe if it's certainly inspiring a lot of people, including myself, to do something. Forward Observation Group they're doing some good work. Junior Dell says, oh, I don't know about that. I'll have to look up Forward Observation Group. If you have a link for that or something, share it in the chat. But if there was an opportunity, maybe. I don't know. It's tough to say. It certainly, I would never want to be someone who shows up just to be another casualty and make the situation potentially worse. Or I don't want to show up and just become a captive by the government as soon as I land on an airplane. You know what I mean? People who are just going right now, and they have no experience with this kind of thing. They've never partaked in overseas operations like this or international operations like this. There are tons of ways to just get yourself into trouble, and then what? Somebody has to come rescue you. You quickly become a problem instead of a solution. You don't want to be a problem. You don't want to add to the problem that's already going on over there. So that's something to think about for sure if anybody is considering it. Now I do have some stories for you guys, some scuttlebutt stories that we're going to talk about today. I might be a quick episode. I got tons of stuff going on over here. My dog is currently at an appointment right now. I'm going to have to go pick Bree up here in a little bit. But for now, and then I have a doctor's appointment in about an hour that I have to make it to. So I have to do the Scuttlebutt show, get our dog, get our home, and get to a doctor's appointment. Routine stuff, no big deal. All in the next hour. So I have to get to today's stories. That's why I'm sitting down. I'm sitting down because it's been such a busy episode prep for me that I haven't even had time to get my desk up. So the desk has not risen. So here is an update to an older story that that we haven't covered in a long time because, like I said, it's a few years old. But now we have some news about it. Motorist who crashed through Fort-Story gates and killed a sailor sentenced to 10 years. So actually a gate guard at military police sailor killed in the line of duty when a motorist crashed through the gate. We now know why that motorist did it and what their sentence is going to be, and it will shock you. So, man, when I first read this, I was quite disturbed. As his mother wept from her seat in the courtroom, 4-year-old Damian Tamores tried to console her. 4-year-old consoling his mother. The dark-haired preschooler stood in front of her, talking to her quietly and holding on to her while other family members told a judge about the devastating loss they suffered when Damian's father was killed in the 2019 crash at Joint Expeditionary Little Creek, Fort Story, so out there in Virginia. Unbelievable. Damian was just 2 when his father, 23-year-old Oscar Tamores, was killed. The crash occurred at the base around 1930 on November 30th. Tamores, this is November 30th, 2019. A Navy Petty Officer 3rd Class was working as a sentry, which most people would think is a throwaway job. I've told you guys how being a gate guard is actually a really hard job. You just think it's easy because you never stood in those shoes. A Navy Petty Officer 3rd Class was working as a sentry when he heard a radio call about a pickup speeding the wrong way through the gates. Tamores got into his cruiser and was responding to the area when the truck hit his vehicle head on. The driver, Nathaniel Lee Campbell of Shenandoah, was going 79 miles per hour at the time of impact, which is, it creates a catastrophic collision. Campbell was hospitalized and had part of his right leg amputated, so he was injured in the crash as well. 3 of Tamores' family members and a friend who was working with him that night gave highly emotional testimony. They described Tamores as a hardworking man who was proud to be in the Navy and dedicated to his family, especially his young son. Every once in a while, it goes down for the gate guards, and they always seem to rise to the occasion and act courageously with honor, courage, commitment, and put themselves in harm's way to defend the base. Virginia Beach Circuit Judge Kevin Duffin sentenced Campbell to 10 years in prison. So the perpetrator, the suspect, was sentenced to 10 years in prison, the maximum allowed. In my opinion, it's not nearly enough. But it was suggested that he be let off with probation. They tried to let him off with probation. Think about that. We'll find out, the circumstances here in a second that led up to this, but they tried to let him off with probation. He pled guilty in December to involuntary manslaughter, which is a low-level offense compared to murder, which is the highest he could have been charged with if the situation was different. To be charged with aggravated involuntary manslaughter, which has a maximum 20 years in prison, there would have to have had been another factor than excessive speed involved in the crash. They say that the only reason that this crash happened was speeding. No alcohol, no drugs. They even investigated his hotel room, which did not turn up any alcohol or drugs. So the suspect was in town because he was trying to get with a girl that was in the area, who he called up and said that he wanted to marry him. So he calls this girl. It says he'd recently come to Virginia Beach and was staying at a motel when he reached out to a woman he knew, asked her if she wanted to get married. The woman was in Chicago at the time and had no intention of marrying him, the defense lawyer said. After he gets rejected, he decided to head to a strip club. He got confused. He didn't have his phone or GPS with him, feeling out of control and out of, feeling mentally unwell. He remembers speeding, but doesn't remember much more than that, he says. He never intended to hurt anyone. There was something else going on that night. I'm not really sure what. So he didn't mean to go on base, it says. He got confused. He got upset. He ended up speeding and did not mean to cause the accident that eventually, took Tamores' life. But that's exactly what he did. I mean, who is this guy that he would flee to Virginia, for one, and, not flee, but head to Virginia to pursue a female who had no interest in him, and then when getting rejected, kind of starts acting all erratic like this, which ended up resulting in the death of someone. That's someone who's not well in the first place. Now, there's sympathy to be had for people who are mentally unwell, but where I stand on this, it's always the same. You never have to really ask. I'm with the innocent victims, right? So the idea that he could have been let off with nothing more than probation is really sick, and I'm glad that they did ultimately get him, sentenced to 10 years, not because, it doesn't make anything right, but at least it gives the family some closure. Imagine a slap in the face of the family if they just let him off with probation. That's unthinkable. Really unthinkable. How in the hell are they going 78 miles per hour near the gate? It's like it's an off-ramp from I-64. I'm sure once he probably got stopped at the gate. He probably got stopped at the gate and then sped through. And you can get up to 78 probably quickly enough on base. So update on another story here. Update on another story that we're going to get to. Junior Dell says, I'm not too far from that place, and it's not too easy to get to that speed. Interesting. He must have been, really, maybe he just said, screw it, I pedal to the metal, and whatever happens, happens. He closes his eyes. He, says goodbye, and that's always how it goes, isn't it? In those types of accidents where there's a victim who dies, like a DUI, the victim dies, the innocent person, and then the person who is actually driving out to hurt somebody, they get away, better off. Somebody says, leave Naha alone, Boot. Leave Naha alone, Boot is right. I know you're not talking to me because, I'm not a Boot. But for all those junior enlisted out there who'll be going down to Naha, Okinawa, yeah, that's exactly what happens. So we're going to talk about that here in a minute. Before we do, I've got an update here. Sailor accused of starting Bonham Richard Blaze will be court-martialed, the Admiral decides. So there was some questioning, like, is there enough evidence here to actually pursue charges against this guy? Turns out, yes, in fact, there is, and he is going to court-martial. So that's an update on this. The sailor accused of starting a fire that destroyed the amphib Bonham Richard is headed for court-martial, the Navy announced Friday. The sailor's lawyer, however, was quick to note that the move goes against the recommendation of the legal officer in his first hearing. After a careful review of the preliminary hearing report, Vice Admiral Steve Kohler, Commander U.S. 3rd Fleet, referred charges against Seaman Recruit Ryan Sawyer Mays to General Court-Martial. This story has been all over the place. This is crazy. I don't know what to think of this anymore. He faces charges of willful hazarding of a vessel, aggravated arson after his fellow sailors told investigators and the court they saw him in the area where the fire started on the ship July 12, 2020. You know what they're going to try to get him on is not only potentially starting the fire, but not extinguishing the fire. He could be charged for negligence by not, sounding the alarm in case of fire or disorder, but also not, using his firefighting skills that he learned in boot camp and damage control to put out the fire. We'll see. You know what else happens this week is the Fat Leonard trial beginning of all the captains and commanders and admirals in Singapore accused of partying with Fat Leonard and throwing around some serious Navy cash to do so. We're going to follow that once there's something to report. I am really curious what's going to happen with that. Like I said, I know some people who were involved, not like well and personally, but I mean people who were commanders of the ships that I was on were involved in that. So I guess we're going to find out what's going on with that soon. So we're going to have to follow that. Pedro says, yeah, I meant that for the Junior Marines, so we'll screw it up for everybody. I miss Okinawa. I miss the Orion festivals, Naha, and Alegrias, literal Spanish restaurant. I've never been there, but I've also never been to an Orion festival. Actually, I was at one a couple years ago, but they haven't happened since the pandemic started. I'm hoping to go to the Orion Brewery soon, since I'll be leaving Okinawa this summer. Oh yeah, I guess I can say this now. Coming back to San Diego this summer. My wife and I got orders. Well, she got orders. Man, I'm such a dependa. So we got orders back to San Diego. So we'll be returning to Southern California, which is fine. I'm actually really excited to see a lot of my friends. So we'll be returning to Southern California this summer. So look out for me over there. Look out for the Scuttlebutt coming to San Diego. It's going to be awesome. He's trying to take another topless selfie down there. Oh, yeah, you guys remember that famous photo of Maze, the sailor charged with that fire, of him flexing in the mirror? He was ripped, though. Like, you got to give him some credit. The dude was pretty jacked. I mean, he was, like, skinny jacked. Not like, looks like he probably bench pressed about 95 pounds. But, you know, you could see all his abs, and that's pretty cool, I guess. I'm trying to get there myself. Trying to get those abs back. Dependa, yet you're both the same rank, right? Well, I'm in 04D. My wife's in 04, and I'm in 04D. That's an 04 dependent. So, yes, it's true. Orion is top-tier light beer. I agree. Orion's my favorite light beer. I drink Orions when I am drinking just a beer, just a casual beer. I'm going for Orions. The 16-ounces, by the way. They have the 6-packs of the 16-ounces at the Sane, which is the name of the grocery store out here. Oh, yeah. I love it. I do. All right, guys. Be prepared. I'm going to upset you with this next one. I'm going to bother you deeply with this next one. Ooh. Get ready to get that, burning in the gut kind of upsetness. Let's do it. Man stole $34,000 from disabled veteran he was hired to help in Pennsylvania, according to the feds. It's the long game here. It's the long con. A 75-year-old Pennsylvania man appointed to work as the fiduciary for a veteran with disabilities in 1989 has since been accused of stealing from the person he was hired to help. How sick. How sick. A federal grand jury indicted Robert Bruce Ralston of Evans City on the charge of misappropriation by a fiduciary, according to a news release from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Pennsylvania. Authorities accuse Ralston of making about 44 unauthorized withdrawals by checks from the veteran's beneficiary account and transferring that money to himself. He's believed to have stolen about $34,000 from March 2017 to March 2018. The defense attorney representing Ralston could not be reached for comment. Federal officials say Ralston used the stolen funds to make mortgage payments and pay for his phone and medical bills. Oh, man. Had to pay your cell phone bill with that? As an appointed Veterans Affairs fiduciary, Ralston was entitled to a 4% monthly fee for his service, according to an indictment, but he was not allowed to borrow, loan, or gift money from the veterans account without prior authorization. That's a pretty big privilege to grant somebody anyway. Complete control over your finances, and they're entitled to some of it. I have a condo in San Diego, and I have a property manager, and they take, let me think about this, 8% of the monthly mortgage, the rent. So I pay the mortgage. Here's how it works, because it's kind of similar to this, right? So they find a tenant, they come up with the rent, they charge the rent, and then out of the entire rent that they take 8% of that. They give me the rest, and then I pay the mortgage. So it sounds like here, this guy, all the money that he gets as his veteran benefits siphons through this guy, who is supposed to take 4% of that, and then the rest he's supposed to manage for the guy that he's helping. But it sounds like he's been skimming off the top to the tune of $34,000. So what shocks me about this is the age of the guy. The guy's 75. The suspect, 75. And he's been working with a veteran with disability since 1989, and now he does this. It begs the question. It begs the question for sure of why now? So why for so long, why for 30 years was he a good fiduciary? And then in the last 2, start stealing? I wonder. This is not maybe as egregious as some of the other encounters like this we've had with people, other stories that we've covered, but definitely not good. And I'm glad that, hopefully the veteran, who it doesn't really describe what type of condition he's in, I assume pretty bad condition, will get his money back, as well as somebody more trustworthy to take over for him. It's unclear if he has any family or anybody who could take care of him, but man, I almost wonder at that point, you've been working with somebody for 30 years and you're both old, if you would even be like, mad about the money. It'd be more heartbreaking to find out that that person betrayed you, and then what do you do? It's almost, does that guy even know he was betrayed? Does he even, is he even able to understand what happened? Man, tons of questions about this one. If I find anything else, I'll let you guys know, but that is a totally sad story right there. MC says, this makes me sick. The P3 Orion. Okinawans used to trade Orion beers for sea rats when we were in the woods. Oh, yeah. They love Orion out here. It's the main thing. Larry says, I'm on a Blue Moon Belgian White Cake. That's a good beer. Max, you doing your planks and bridge twists? I don't do my bridge twists, but you know what I do? I do my own version of it on a GHD machine. I'll have to share that with you guys someday. Do you still have Akadama Wine and Oki? I'm not sure. Ancient Neophyte. I've never heard of that one, but now that you said it, I'll check it out. I will check it out. Power of attorney or executor of estate is a serious undertaking. Too many people just let that responsibility go to their heads. They get greedy. Yeah, that's right. Power of attorney can be very scary. I've heard horror stories of people getting divorced and their spouses have a power of attorney and then do something really spiteful. And so you don't want to be that person. It's not gonna make you feel any better 20 years from now. Or maybe it will. Maybe that's your style. Junior Dell is definitely pissed, as you should be. Something else that might make you pissed is when Marines get in trouble here in Okinawa, and then we all have to hear about it. And so, we haven't had this in a while, but we've got, nope, not that. We've got
another one.
Yes, there it is. We've got
another one.
4th Marine pleads guilty to attempted cannabis smuggling on Okinawa.
Another one.
There is a straight weed ring going on out here in Okinawa. This is insane. So we just talked about a few people getting in trouble. 3 people last weekend in trouble for smuggling marijuana, the devil's lettuce, Mary Jane, over the U.S. Postal Service system out into Okinawan FPO, AP, official military P.O. boxes. And now another one. A U.S. Marine received a 2.5-year suspended sentence Monday in a Japanese court after pleading guilty to attempting to smuggle cannabis liquid into the country last summer. At this point, can we just assume there's probably dozens more, right? Probably. Lance Corporal Scott Drebsky, who I'm pretty sure I found on Facebook, but I can't be certain, so I won't share his photo, admitted violating Japan's Cannabis Control Act and customs law in his first appearance in the Naha District Court. He apologized for not respecting Japanese law and tradition. He says, at that time, I was not thinking clearly and I made a mistake, he told sentencing judge Tatsudo Sakamoto. His attorney argued that Drebsky wanted the cannabis for his personal use only. But with the Marine Corps' zero tolerance policy, that's still not going to fly as an excuse. August 20th, customs officials at the Camp Kinzer post office intercepted a package with a 1/4 ounce of liquid cannabis. That seems like a very small amount. Meant for Drebsky, a spokeswoman for Naha District Public Prosecutor's Office told Stars and Stripes by phone Monday. Drebsky had a gram of the liquid on him August 27th when authorities confronted him at Camp Schwab. Japanese government spokespeople speak anonymously, so we don't get a lot of information on that. Sakamoto sentenced Drebsky to 2.5 years jail with hard labor, but suspended the sentence to 4 years. He likely will not serve jail time unless convicted again in Japan. And I'm pretty sure the person we talked about last week got a couple of years with hard labor. And hard labor out here in these Japanese jails is nothing to fool around. You do not want that. That is nothing to fool around with. You're going to be in horrible conditions. It gets hot out here in Okinawa in the summertime. Imagine it's 120 degrees outside and you're doing hard labor for a 1/4 ounce of weed. Oh, man. Jeez. Prosecutors asked for strict punishments for Drebsky importing the cannabis liquid, which was sent from Illinois on August 10th by unidentified individuals. The package arrived on Kadena August 19th. Drebsky is the fourth Marine to appear in Japanese courts on Okinawa in February on cannabis smuggling charges. We talked about the rest last week. Just don't do it. You can smoke all the weed you want when you get back to the United States as a civilian. All you have to do is abstain while you're overseas. Man, what was that movie where the people were supposed to smuggle drugs out of like South America or something like that, and they were kind of being forced to do it by like the cartel, and they got busted and they spent all those years in jail? There's a good movie about that. Basically, what I'm saying is, it's not worth it. It is not worth it. Whatever you think you're doing, whatever you think you're getting away with, just take a lesson from this guy who is almost, even though he's going to avoid prison, I can say he's almost for sure also going to get kicked out with an other than honorable or dishonorable discharge, and then his whole life's ruined for a little bit of weed, tiny little bit of weed. That's not good. Not good. Just legalize it. It's way better than alcohol. Well, that's what America's doing, but in Okinawa, in Japan, they don't play. Really that much trouble for chump change? Unless you're unloading a C-17 worth of weed, you're a damn fool. Yeah. So you're saying that is the taste of Okinawa. That's what I recall. Quarter ounce of 7 grams was probably $60 or $50, Buford says. Interesting. Pedro says, poor Naha, such a decent city. Their Sailor Sam's restaurant slaps. Does it slap? Because I've never been to Sailor Sam's, but I know what you're talking about, and maybe I have to go check that out. All right, guys, one more story, and we'll get out of here a few minutes early today so I can go pick up my dog and get to this doctor's appointment. And it's out of the Army. Interesting recruiter tactic here. We'll talk about it. Let me know what you guys think. Army offers recruits guaranteed first assignments at select bases, to which I say, okay, we'll see how well that works out for everybody. Potential Army enlistees will now find a new deal on the table at recruiting offices nationwide. New active duty recruits now have the option of selecting their first duty assignment following basic training, U.S. Army Recruiting Command announced in a statement Friday. The Duty Station of Choice enlisted program is available at select bases in 8 states and features 5,600 vacancies in 17 career fields, including infantry, cavalry, aviation and information technology, IT, probably your best bet there. That's from U.S. Army Recruiting Command. So the program allows new soldiers to choose a station depending on personal preference, job compatibility, and the needs of the Army. The Army understands that having the option to stay closer to home and loved ones is a big deal, and it's taking steps to make decisions easier on applicants. Available bases include Fort Carson, Lewis McChord, Fort Bliss, Fort Hood, which I doubt anybody would pick. Honestly, come on. And a few others. The Army does not apply to overseas. The program does not apply to overseas stations, so you can't get guaranteed Spain or Italy or Okinawa. The offer comes a month after Army shortened down minimum enlistment to 2 years and also offered up to $50,000 in bonuses for other jobs. So the Army's trying to meet recruiting, which is interesting because I just remember a story from a couple months ago about how the Army, exceeded expectations for recruiting in 2021. And now in 2022, it's anything goes to get people in. They got anime posters from the Marine Corps. They've got, they might as well just go like, hey, and we'll give you some weed too. We'll give you some drugs. It's like when I redid the Army logo. If you guys don't know that, check out my TikTok. And you can buy the stickers on scuttlebuttshow.com. But when I redid the Army logo and I said drugs okay, crime too. Actually, let me pull that up for you guys so I can sell a couple of these to you. And then I'm going to have to get out of here. So if you're listening and you're like, what should I buy from the Scuttlebutt Show store? Maybe you should buy the Scuttlebutt Show, rebrand of the different branches of service. You can check my TikTok for the full video breakdown on why I chose to use this symbology for this logo. And it is Army because it's easier to spell. And in the Army, it's crime okay, drugs too, and then a bunch of fun weapons, because I know you guys love fun weapons over there in your gangs. So if you guys can pick this up today for $5 for the biggest size, prices get lower from there, and you can get these for currently the Army, the Marine Corps, and the Air Force. Here's the Air Force one is the Sky Army. So we've got the Sky Army here. And then for the Marine Corps, we've got the Wet Army, which honestly, does it get better than this? Does it get better than this, you guys? Technically part of the Navy. This is probably the one that I like the most out of all the ones that I made. So you guys can check these out. So have fun out there when you join the Army and get your duty station of choice. MC says the Train to Train hoodie, which he's wearing right now. I love that. Thank you very much. But just some more options. Regal, what's up? I joined the Army if they gave me trucks for sure. Want to be noticed? Join the Army now, Senpai. So that's going to be it for today's show, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. H-Not says second weed strike equals feed him to the kaiju. Ooh, okay. Jada Moore says where the 40K bonuses. Yeah, I guess you got to go get those bonuses. Don't waste it all in Mexico like I did. So that's going to be it for today, guys. I got to run. I got a doctor's appointment to go to, like I said, and my dog is ready to be picked up from a grooming sesh. She's getting her groom on so she can be clean and all that stuff. It's always a good time. With all that being said, thank you as always for being here, the greatest community on YouTube. I love seeing all the new people in the chat. I look forward to seeing you in the comments there. We also have Ben Miller on the show next week on March 8th, author of By Water Beneath the Walls. Check that out, my new favorite book of military history. So with all that being said, I look forward to seeing you guys very soon. And for now, that's the Scuttlebutt.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.